بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافي مزيدا يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. All praise is to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon the last messenger Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessings be upon you all. Sorry for coming late, but I suppose I'll be honest, I ain't gonna lie, but I went to work today. I thought about coming to us. I was a bit tired. I've been working 4 months as a doctor, as if I don't know if there's many medical students here. But yeah, if you're a medical student, one person, good for the rest of you. That's not doing medicine because it's not worth it, I'll be honest. So I'm working for just 4 months and it's tiring me out bad style because I'm a bit of a lazy guy. I don't really like working that much. But that's not where the Prophet was. So the first thing I'd like to say is that I'm not really someone who represents the prophetic way. I'm not someone who represents the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So the first thing you need to do is when you look at me, don't think of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. I don't represent Islam as well. I'm just someone who takes something that I've heard and I'm just transmitting it to you in the best way I can, because we do not represent the last messenger, neither do I represent Islam. And I'm not a sheikh, I'm not someone who's an academic scholar, I'm not someone who's studied Islam for length. It's not my occupation. I'm a doctor by profession and this is something I take interest in and it's something that I'm trying to further study. So I come here to transmit anything that I can that may be benefit to all of you, God willing. So what I was going to do, what I first asked my mum to take Jackie off. What I was going to do is do a series of talks on the prophetic biography, which I think probably Brother Ayaz probably told you about. And the prophetic biography is important because it lets us understand who the last messenger was. And if you want to understand Islam, you need to understand the medium that it comes through. So if you want to understand the message, you always need to understand who the message came through. Without that, you don't really understand the context behind Revelation, neither do you understand the context behind what he said, the understandings, as you call it in Islam, the mafahim of the words, and that's where great errors happen because you've misunderstood the real context of the words of the Quran. You really misunderstood the context of what things mean, and what people usually do, as we know in psychology, is you usually interpret things related to your own psyche. So the way you experience life, that's how you interpret things in life. Therefore, if you've had a tough life, or if you had an easy life, or if you have parents in a certain way, or if you do things in a certain way, that's how you see the world. But the Prophet ﷺ is the one who conveyed to us the message of Islam, and he's the one who knows what Islam is all about, because without him, we would not be sat here. And I know there's non-Muslims in the crowd as well, so forgive me if I start going into things and you don't understand, and just put your hand up and stop me if you don't understand anything, because trust me, after 10 minutes I'll be off on one and you'll be like, what's he going on about? So just put your hand up and just tell me to go back, just be quiet or something. But what I'm trying to say is that the Prophet ﷺ is pivotal to Islam, and that's one of the sort of problems we have in this day and age, is we've sort of taken the people out of the question or the problem or the religion. If you were to study Islam, it's not bookwork. It's not bookwork at all. If you were to study the Quran, it's not an academic exercise. Islam is not an academic exercise. Neither should any religion just be an academic exercise. It should be an experiential religion, and it's something that you experience day in, day out. And the first thing that we want to talk about is the concept of love, and what muhabba in Arabic that is called, what the concept of love means. So I don't know if anyone wants to tell me what love means, and I know you won't, but so I'll tell you anyway. So muhabba, love, is something that is metaphysical in reality. I.e., if I ask every single person here what love is, you won't be able to tell me what love is, because it's different for every single person. You can't put a definition onto what love is. And that's what's so beautiful about all the religions, is that it's a manifestation of your love to someone or something. And that something or something has to have a reason for its love. And the two things they tell us, our teachers tell us, that why you love someone. There's only two reasons that they tell us you love someone. Either someone's done something good to you, and that you are loving that person on basis of that. I say you love your parents, because your parents, they brought you up, they gave you food, you were in the womb of your mother for 9 months, etc., etc. You feel like you have something to owe to your parents. You love them for that reason, for that sake of their parents. You fear of misbehaving or something, whatever. Out of fear of love for your parents, of making them sad, etc. So that's one type of love that you have for people. A second type is someone that you love because of the innate good disposition and qualities they have, that you have some sort of delight in that person. So that's the second type of person that you like or love. And that's usually when you look at someone else or you feel someone else and your soul finds some sort of delight in that person because of the way they act, or the way they look, or the way they dress, or the way they behave. There's something in there which your soul finds pleasant in that person, and that's the second type of love. So these are the two main reasons why the soul enjoys some sort of delight in a person. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he tells us in the hadith, and he tells us and he gives us an axiom and a principle, is that al-arwah junudul mujannada, that he tells us that the souls are arrayed soldiers. So something brilliant I was listening today is, if you were to walk into a room and if there was 99 people that were of a certain disposition that you didn't like, for instance, they were all of a certain way, I don't want to explain what, but if there was certain 100 people, 99 were a certain disposition you didn't like, and there's one person that was in a certain features that you like, you naturally will go and sit with that person, even though you don't know him. You could be Joe Bloggs, you don't have a clue, you've never seen him before, but straight away you feel like there's something in him or her that I like about that person. So you only do that when you're sat with that person, you see that person, you know that person, you interact with that person, you know something about that person, something starts happening within the soul, something necessarily does happen in the soul, and something happens when you spend time with people, and when you depart from that person, it hurts, bad style, doesn't it? Like if you got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, yeah, and you break up, I don't know if many of you have, if the Muslims should be having boyfriends, yeah, but I know nowadays it's a bit rife in it, but basically, if you start having a relationship with a person and then your soul starts finding connections with that person, and then when you break up, some people know how that feels. It feels like a part of you gone, it's part of you destroyed. Therefore, love is pivotal to religion, because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that al-mar'u ma'aman ahab. He says in Arabic that the person is with the one whom he loves, i.e., whoever you love in the religion or whoever you love outside the religion, you will be with that person. If you're not Muslim, then okay, you might not believe in the day of judgment or the afterlife, but that is the person you will be with according to Muslims on the day of judgment, or after you die, or even in this world. It's something important because it gives meaning to love. It's not something that I love this person and that's it, you die and you go away. It's something that stays with you forever, forever and ever and ever. Therefore, it's important to understand what love really means. And for Muslims, there's one person that we love more than anything else, and we love over our parents, and we love over our children, and we love over even our own selves. And that's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand, because the self is the biggest or the hardest thing to overcome for any human being. And there's someone that we love, which not a lot of people know about, is the last prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi, is someone that people, a Muslim world, especially the Muslims, are infatuated with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and that's an understatement. It's something that people, if you read about the companions who were with the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, you'd just be like, what were they doing? Do you know what I mean? As in, that is just so much, that's stupid, that, innit? Do you know what I mean? You'd be reading their biography and you'd be like, what's going on here? That's not love, that's stupid. But that is something different. It's the type of love that if you're a parent and your child walks in front of a bus, you die for that child. You die for that child because there's something different about that love, and that's something that we manifest or we hope to have about the last messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's for a lot of people it's difficult to understand. So who's the prophet? Who's this guy that you call Muhammad? Why do you love him? What's so special about him? Why do you love him? And then you can ask, if he's that good, what's so good about him, and why do you love him so much over your parents? You don't even know the guy, as in, you don't even seen the guy, you don't know anything about him, you've heard a few stories about him, how do you know it's true? And these are questions people ask. And the third thing people want to know is that, well, you speak about him and he says X, Y, Z, but you don't behave like that. You just say it's all lip service. So these are many things that people can sort of, and you can sort of experience in everyone's life that, okay, I love this guy, but I don't really like this guy. And non-Muslims, you're going to question us, and you're going to be like, who's this guy? So I've come here, hopefully, to try and tell you a bit more about who this person was, and why we are so deeply attached to that person. And I want you to think with an open mind, because the worst thing that you can do is come with hearts that are sealed and with no intention of understanding the religion whatsoever, with no intention of understanding who that person was, because the greatest axiom and principle in religion is that he was a universal prophet for every single person that ever lived, ever will live. And that is the greatest message that you can take here today. He's not for the Muslims. He's not someone who came just for the Muslims. He's not someone who came for just me, for the people who come from India or Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or Syria or Damascus. He is not for those people. He is for everyone. Salawatullah wasalam. And he is for every single person. And when you start understanding what he came with, then you start understanding, I never knew that. I never knew who he was. I just thought something the Muslims, like they believe in the Prophet, so it's got nothing to do with me. But the first thing we have as humans, as people who live on this earth, is to know someone who is ranked by non-Muslims as the greatest figure that ever lived in the world, was #1 ranking, is the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him. The person who is ranked as the greatest figure who ever lived, a political figure, a social figure, a religious figure, in every department, even by people who's Orientalists, whichever field you go, who had the greatest impact on the earth, one man called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it becomes a human imperative to understand who he is. It's not a Muslim thing, it's not a religious thing. Just as you read about Socrates, just as you read about Pythagoras, just as you read about Jesus, just as you read about any of the great figures that lived on the world stage, you need to know, okay, who's this guy that a couple of billion people, a million people around the world really love? It's something that everyone should know. That's from my sad little talk anyway about love. So